shit.
Hey, it's Brian, welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh video. And so this past weekend I played in Pak'S and Luxury's free 3Ks tournament. So if you guys want to go ahead and stick around, I'll go ahead and go through a recap of all the matches that I've played, and I'll leave the deck profile at the end of the video. But before you go ahead and continue, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel a lot. And so let's go ahead and get right into the video. So this is going to be round 2. Round 1, my opponent did not show up. Either he did not remember the time to start, or he did not, he just decided not to show up. I'm not sure what happened there. So we're going to go ahead and go right into it. So I'll try and go through this as fast as possible. So as you can see, I'm starting out game 1, and I draw Triple Tactics, Alistair, Crossout, Wendy, and Called By, and my opponent drew Ready Fusion, in Shade Brigadine, Psychic Wheeler, Silent Boots, and Torn Scales. And so I have a pretty good opening hand. I was actually debating on doing some other plays, but I decided to go ahead and do the following. So I start off by obviously going to the Alistair first, getting the Invocation. Go to the Artemis. I decided to go ahead and make Raijin here. I was debating here on going into Mechaba, decided to hold off against it. And after this, I was really debating on linking both of them away to make Anaconda to make Winda, or just leaving it as it is. Decided to set 2 pass. Fortunately for me, he tapped at the Chalice, so wasn't really much else that I could do in this case. So here he just goes into Break Sword, attacks into the Artemis, and then he pretty much just makes a Zeus, and goes out from here. So I just chain both, because they're getting rid of anyway, just in my deck of bit. And here he just continues to go ahead and link off and then fusion and make into Fusion Forcer here. Switch that Fog Blade. Says it gets rid of the Phoenix Forcer and Anaconda, so I don't have a way of shell fusioning. And he did unfortunately snipe out the punishment at this point. And at this point it's going to be game, because it's going to go ahead and continue to link off, go ahead and continue to summon. And I don't really have much resources at this point. I only have the talents and the permanents, and that's not really going to do much at this point. So here I decided, hey, let me just go ahead and side in all my Go Second cards to go ahead and out it as much as possible. Unfortunately, didn't draw any of my Go Second cards in this game, since I knew he would probably try to go ahead and Fusion Destiny me out anyways. So unfortunately for me, it doesn't end well. He just continues to go off. He drew the Torn Scales, but he didn't have anything else, so he just goes ahead and summons it. Starts off all his plays, and pretty much self-explanatory, normal, standard Fan Knight combo with the Fusion Destiny, and also going to end up with pretty much an unbreakable board for me at this point. So I go ahead and get Shaddoll Fusion out. I was trying to hold off on the fusion on the imperm to Schism, but he did hit. So unfortunately for me, setting bluffs didn't work out. He sniped out the cards both times, so that was unfortunate, but and honestly speaking, Anxiety did hit in, and I really misplayed hard in certain cases. Really didn't matter much there. So that was my first loss. I ended the day X1-1, and so you'll see the others in the moment. So let's just go ahead and get into round 3. So round 3, I'm playing against Drytron. Unfortunately for me, I drew pretty much going second hand, and where I have no starters. I can't even set my monster because Beast is a tribute summon. So I'm in between setting the called by in the imperm or just leaving everything in hand. Since I don't know what he's playing, I just decided to pass and see what happens from there. I have 3 interruptions in hand, so I can afford to go ahead and do it. So he starts out by going into the Herald, and I decided to imperm it right away. Best option there. Goes into Cyber Emergency, that's fine. Goes into Alpha after switching off the Cyber Emergency. Uses Alpha. I was debating on ashing here, but I decided to go ahead and make him go through as many resources as possible so I can get the Nib summon. So he goes ahead and goes into searching for Ben 10. After he draws a card, I decide to go ahead and just ash the Ben 10. Force him to make as many summons as possible, like I said, to go ahead and get out the Nibiru. So here he goes ahead and pitches Gamma. And after he's pitching Gamma, he goes ahead and tries to recover. Or uses the Meteonis, summon out the Ben 10. Uses Gamma to go ahead and summon it back to Gamma. After that, searches Ben 10. I go ahead and chain immediately Nibiru to the Ben 10, so I wait. If he doesn't have any other fairies in hand, I can just get rid of his board, and he still has the Meteonis in graveyard. So he does search out the orange light, which is fine with me. I have still no place. I'm really just depending on the top deck at this point. And fortunately for me, I drew the Alistair. I'm gonna summon the Alistair. He tries to go ahead and orange light me, but I do have Called by the Grave in hand. Get out the Invocation. Go ahead and summon out the Artemis. And using the Invocation, there's plenty of lights available. I go ahead and get rid of the Gamma to limit as many defenders as possible at this point. And so I decided to attack with Artemis first because of the low defense the token has. Attack with both monsters, then link them, the Nibiru and Artemis away to go ahead and make Verite. For Verite to go ahead and send the Shaddoll Fusion, so I can go ahead and use the Beast in hand to go ahead and make Winda and draw a card. I drew into Super Poly. Pretty good card, but I decided to hold off on it, leave that to break the board later. He goes ahead and uses pre-prep to go ahead and search out Perfection, but at this point, I know Perfection, the Dawn of the Herald needs exactly 6 stars, so it's not really doing much at this point. So he goes ahead and uses Delta to go ahead and summon itself to try and draw an extra card. with the effect. But unfortunately, he draws Fusion Destiny. He can't even use it. So here we are going into game 2. I have 2 droplets, Nibiru, Fleur-de-Lis, and an Invocation, which is not the greatest, but it's not that bad against Drytron. So he goes ahead and just starts going off. Use Nova to go ahead and get the Delta on field. Use Alpha. Get out the Ben 10. Use Profession to get on field, using Dawn to bring Ben 10 back to hand, still getting a search. So here he's just gonna go off, continue. And I know he has plenty of negation right now. I'm debating on either using the the Nibiru now, or just leave it till later, or just not use it at all. But he's pretty far ahead at this point. So I'm trying Nibiru when he has less cards in hand before he could search. Use the Perfection to go ahead and discard the Ida-10. And from here, I pretty much have no shot, so even if I just keep letting it go, just see how far it goes, to go ahead and get as much information as possible. I decided to scoop for time. Actually, I go first. And as you can see, he has Mystic Mind in hand. So he decides to Lancey at me right away. That's perfectly fine with me. I go ahead and use Alistair to go ahead and just thin out my deck as much as possible. If he has something in hand, he'll go ahead and use it. It's fine. Here, I'm just trying to go ahead and go through as much as my deck as possible to go ahead and draw any outs later on. I switched to Punishment because I can banish anything he has in graveyard with it by getting the Aqua in graveyard to send Ariel. Fortunately, he decides to mine me, so we're pretty much going to be at a standstill until I draw my outs. So I link off into Verte, and if he puts a monster on board, that's fine. I know I can go ahead and deal with it. So here I'm just setting cards. I draw into an Ariel and I set that because if he pops it, I'm going to bash cards out of his graveyard anyway. So here we're just waiting until I get Harpies. After I get Harpies, at this point it's pretty much game over. So we're just going to go ahead and continue to fast forward until we get to the end. So after I get to the Harpies, he decides to chain droplets on Verte. I really didn't care at this point. I'm pretty sure I have game. So what I do here, I go ahead and use Invocation right away. He tries to use Lancia, but I had the materials in hand, so I really wasn't worried. I still could make Mecha. Here I go ahead and use Apcolone on with Nadir to get back the Fleur-de-Lis. At this point I'm just trying to go for game at this point. Use Apcolone to go ahead and get back the Beast. Fishing away Shaddoll Fusion. Use Fleur-de-Lis. Special summon itself out. Normal summon the Beast. Flip summon the Aerial, and I have enough for game. So here we are, round 4. I'm playing against another Phantom Knight, which has pretty much been the bane of my existence this tournament, because I originally wanted to have one specific card because I was actually thinking I was going to run into this matchup. I wasn't thinking I was going to run that much into this matchup, but I really ended up missing out on that specific card, and I'll go through that at the end when I'm showcasing the profile with all the side deck options and everything, and I'll explain all my choices as well. So he starts out by going into the reinforcements here. Gets Kagamucha, and here I know he's on Phantom Knights. Let's go search his tour guide, use Kagamucha. Here he goes into Graph. Goes into Cherubini. And I'm going to go ahead and go through the whole thing until he gets to the point where he uses the teleport, and in the end I just decided to go ahead and use Nib here on the resolution because he hasn't used the Bardiche effect yet, so he would have to have a very specific card to go ahead and continue to combo. But he was able to go ahead and do the following with this, because I could have waited and used the Imperm on the Bardiche, but I decided to go against it. Decided to go ahead and just get rid of it now, which may have been a mistake. I should have probably Imperm first after using the effect, then going ahead and summoning the beer. But I think that he may have tried to put up something else, and I was afraid of what it might have been. I think he may have been a Levianeer. Levier. So if he got the Levier, it would have been making the combo worse because he would have started searching like 3 cards at a time for 3 Fogways. So I just went ahead and made sure to go ahead and go through it as much as possible so that he could not really lock me as much as he could have. So he decides to go through everything. That's perfectly fine. Pops the Nibiru, and this gave me the freedom to go ahead and negate the DPE, so he can't get under the Scythe lock. I draw to cross out, which is perfectly fine with me. I go ahead and make Apple first. Use that to go ahead and get to go ahead and pop the Fogblade board. I didn't want to have to deal with the negation, so I go ahead and special summon the Ecclesia, search out the Fleur-de-Lis, and from here I just decided to battle. I want to leave that Fleur-de-Lis for another effect during his turn. So I just set 2 pass. Scythe goes perfectly fine. At the end of the turn, doesn't really matter at this point. If it was anywhere early in the turn, it may have mattered. So he tries to go ahead and uses the Bardiche effect. So I ended up chaining the Apkalone to the DPE, and he gets rid of his own Bardish. So the floor still summons, but at this point, not really much else going on. So go ahead and use the area to get rid of his cards. Force out the use of the Fog Blade so he can get back to Torn Scales. From here I could tell he's running low on resources. So here he goes into the Levier. Use Levier to bring back a monster from Banish. In this case he goes with the gloves. Links them both off into Verite. Use the effect of gloves to go ahead and send the Fog Blade. Here he attacks me. I strike the following turn, so I draw into my Alistair, which is fortunate for me. I just decide to go ahead and attack into the Verite before he could go ahead and make an access code or a unicorn in the following turn. So, and I set the Alistair to try and provoke anything at this point because he cannot use the Fog Blade on a set monster, and he can't use it during damage. So I'll go ahead and be able to simply just search it from my invocation in a place where I do need it at the most. So here he goes again, and using Torn Scales effect, pitching to go ahead and send from deck. So I have to go into battle, attacks the face down. I go ahead and get into the Alistair. Search out the invocation again. And from here, I do have the Ash. I could go into Purgatory if I really want to, but I'm not really going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and simply just go for the invocation. Decide to go ahead and use Levier to make Raijin. Get back the Alistair. Summon it again, and that's game. So game 2 in this round, I did draw pretty good, where I drew Galaxy Cyclone, Imperm, Nadir, Zero Poly, and Shaddoll Fusion. So this is a pretty good hand for going second. Fortunately for me, he did draw into the IO, which you'll see play out in a moment. So I only have one hand trap against him, and I have to hold off on it as much as I can. So here he starts going. He already summons three monsters on board. Goes ahead and immediately goes into the Cherubini, getting the Graph, to get the Seer. Go into Break Sword. Seer, bring back the Cherubini. Go into Dagda. Standard combo at this point. Get the Scythe. Send Torn Scale. Search out another monster with Cloak. Kind of misclicked on the Scythe at this point, but I'm pretty much just having to wait my whole turn, holding off on all my cards while he goes off. I had to go ahead and imperm here because of the fact I can't really risk him getting into as many fog blades as he can. So I'd rather make him burn his resources here. So here he goes into the Fusion Destiny combo by getting Wings first to go ahead and special summon out the Break Sword. Gain the muscle back on board. And this was getting featured on stream at this point. So I draw into another Nadir. In this draw phase, I have priority, so I'm just going to go ahead and poly away the DP and the Verte to go ahead and go into my Mud Dragon. Try to go ahead. He goes ahead and use Fog Blade. Tries to pop. I chained the Cosmic, and if he didn't have the IO, I would have won. Because I have both Shaddoll Fusion and Nadir Servant in hand, which could kill his whole board immediately. So I decided to scoop. You can tell that I'm not going to survive another turn. So heading into game 3. I'm going ahead and just trying to go ahead and make Mecha Ball. Use Foolish, send the Wendy. Really debating on just using the Mecha Ball or making the Raijin. I'm trying to make Mecha Ball. Probably should have made the Raijin better, but that's something for another day. So here I decided to immediate Lancia, and again looking back, I should have made the Raijin here. Would have been a way better option. He goes ahead and uses Lightning Storm. Gets rid of my back row. I tried to go ahead and use Mecha Ball, but Pac caught me and corrected it because of a previous ruling a judge at a regional gave me was incorrect, so that's a mistake on my part as well. So he goes ahead and uses Fusion Destiny because that's pretty much the only place he has left. After we correct the game state because I couldn't do it, so I get everything dragged, and then he just goes ahead and uses it. Gets rid of the Mecha Ball. I do get Beast, so I draw into 2 cards. I get rid of the Alistair because I have the Invocation. And here he messes up by chaining the DP to the Invocation. He should have waited. And so from here now I have game. I'm just at this point just trying to avoid triggering a hand trap. So if anything, if he's gonna trigger something, he should do it on the Ecclesia or on the Fleur de Lis, but not on the Augo. And I have plenty of reinforcements after that, so that was round 4. So I skipped around, so that was my round 5 actually, so this is my actual round 4, so just to go back a little bit. So I'm playing against the Tri-Brigade, a Lyrilusk matchup here in round 4, so I do apologize. I wanted to correct that. First off, I do want to show that this game off as well, because this game was actually really close. So I did open up Double Meltdown here, which is not the worst, but could be better. Go ahead and use Meltdown, get Alistair, of course. Nothing on res, so get everything out. Use Alistair. Get Foolish to go ahead and get Beast out. See if I can get anything. Draw into an Imperm, which is pretty good at this point. Draw an additional Interrupt. I go ahead and decide to go ahead and make Mechaba. Set the Imperm and pass, so I have 3 interruptions at this point. He tries to go ahead and uses the Bird Call. It gets met with the Ash. I decided to go ahead and banish the Wobbler, just to avoid anything else, to avoid a material engraven and avoid additional search, because he has to force out now another way of special summoning on board. If he doesn't have it, it's going to be really awkward. But he does have a normal summon here of the Cobalt Shadow. He links it off, goes ahead into the Canary. Use Canary, bring both of the monsters back. I go ahead and use Imperm to negate the search. Goes into the Nightingale, and with Nightingale he's going to attack me directly, so he can go into Zeus. So all in all, it's a pretty good thing that I did that, because he didn't really have much follow-up after that. So I draw into the Hedgehog, which is not the worst again. So I go ahead and use Meltdown. I thought he was going to negate it, but he lets it go, which ends up being a little bit of a mistake here. So go ahead and use this to go ahead and get another Alistair. Alistair effect, get the Invocation. Use Invocation to go ahead and pitch both my Alistair and Mechaba to the Banish Zone to go ahead and get Oggo. Now he can't respond. Get rid of Zeus. Use Oggo Eater's effect to go ahead and put the cards back into deck. Poke him for 2k. And in my turn, he does have Droplets and Dark Ruler, so he goes ahead and uses Droplets to get rid of Dark Ruler. Uses the effect of Nerval. Go for 2. Goes into the Ferrijit. And from here he goes into the Simorglink. Uses the effect of Nerval to get the Fractal. And he unfortunately drew another Droplet, so that's fine with me. He attacks with the Simorg. I immediately, just since I have 2 Alistair in hand, just pitch both of them, make sure that he can't bring something else out. And here I draw into Shaddoll Fusion, perfectly fine, not really in a rush. I do have Meltdown out, so if he puts any monster special summon from the extra deck, I have a way of just extending my plays and continuing to play. Set the Hedgehog, perfectly fine. Goes ahead and uses Bird Call here at the top deck. Gets Turquoise Wobbler. First, you can't negate it this time, so I ended up holding on to the effect of Oggo as long as possible. Probably should have gotten rid of the Wobbler at the resolution, but I felt this was best. So here he goes, making Nerval alive, getting it, summoning it. Going into Omen. Of course, use the pop effect to go ahead and get rid of the Omen. Hits the Hedgehog. I go ahead and get the search as well. He searches Kyrus. Goes ahead and goes into the Ancient Warrior Link, which is pretty okay with me. Bounces it back to the extra deck. Searches again Fractal. And now I'm at 38. Goes into Zeus and lets it go. Fusion in hand, so what I do is I activate Shaddoll Fusion. He decides to chain the Zeus, which he shouldn't have done that because he had 2 ways of getting rid of my cards. Should have used the Ancient Warrior to bounce back whatever I special summon after the resolution. Or if I negate the Ancient Warriors, I would just go ahead and force out the Zeus anyway. So after making sure to use my Shaddoll Fusion, because he does have a monster from the edge deck, I pitched in the Ariel and of course Nibiru, since Nibiru is not the best top deck at the moment. So I go ahead and just banish everything, send the Schism to grave, and then that's it. Game 3, I'm pretty content because I have Shaddoll Fusion and Droplets in my hand, so I'm pretty sure I can go ahead and have a chance at this. He does have Prosperity, Nerval, Celestine Wagtail, Featherstorm, and a Drone Lock. I'm not really worried about the Drone Lock. I was worried about the Featherstorm, but also anything that enables cards in graveyard for any of the Tri-Brigade monsters. So he uses Pot of Prosperity here. He decides to go ahead and get the Sapphire Swallow here. That way he can go ahead and set up plays. Normal summons Nerval, goes ahead and use Sapphire Swallow. Special summon out the Celestine Wagtail. And from here he gets into a Bird Call. I'm not so much worried because I know that I have Droplets and Shaddoll Fusion in hand. Goes ahead and continues to surge out. Continues to add stuff back to hand. Goes for the Draco feature. Use Fairy G. Again, continuing to repeat the process. But now he has the Sigmorg link in the extra monster zone. Summons out the Apex Avion, and from here I pretty much decided to scoop it up. So in this case I drew pretty good. Normal summon Alistair, get the Hedgehog, make Artemis, go ahead and get both cards back. However, he does imprint the construct, so I don't get the Schism. So I go ahead and use Construct to go ahead and link off, getting my fusion back. That way I can go ahead and have my board established where I can go ahead and make Super Poly and Schism Live, and I go ahead and use the Ecclesia to go ahead and search out punishment and leave that in hand in case he has something later on. Like an evenly match, because I have seen it before where random people in decks that they shouldn't be using, they use it evenly. So he uses Pop Prosperity here for 3. Not really good cards because they all depend on other things. So I go ahead on resolution. I go ahead and make window, force him to go ahead and use anything that he has to go ahead and negate it, or just stay there. He uses 1 for 1 first, then chains droplets to go ahead and negate both Winda and Mechaba. So after that, he gets a search. But what he doesn't know is that I have Super Poly face down, so he tries to go ahead and use his Bird Call again in this game, and I just make another window. And from here, it's pretty much game. So this is round 6. I draw into a pretty good hand. I am playing against Phantom Knights again. No, I'm sorry, not Phantom Knights. I'm playing against Invoked DPE. Just for Phoenix Enforcer. So he ashes the meltdown. I decide to go ahead and just chain the call by right away. Get my Alistair. And from here, I go ahead and get the Invocation, get the Artemis, go ahead and make Makaba, get back the Alistair, Foolish Burial, use Wendy to go ahead and set Beast, and then from here I'm setting 2 Beasts. So here he activates Meltdown, perfectly fine. Tries to go ahead and use Alistair, I get met by the Imperm. Uses Fusion Destiny. Gets the Phoenix Enforcer on board. Use the effect on Summon to go ahead and pop Super Polyhead in the background, which is fine. Attacks Mechaba. I go ahead and protect it. It's gonna go ahead and bring itself back out. Draws into the terraforming. Gets into the meltdown. And set 1 pass. I draw into the Wendy, perfectly fine. So he goes ahead and uses Phoenix Enforcer. I go ahead and immediately use Mechaba to banish it. Use Beast Effect. Draw into Shaddoll Fusion and Meltdown. I go ahead and grab the Meltdown. Activate a second Meltdown here. Get another Alistair here. Normal summon. Get the invocation out. Use the invocation to go ahead and make a Wendy. And I decided to go ahead and set the Alistair first. I should have set the Beast first. So he tries to further leave me at the end of the main phase so I can't do as much damage. Crashes into the Mega Ball. I'm sorry, I crashed with the Mega Ball into the Torn Scales. Can't attack with anything else without a deficit, so I just set the Alistair. So he goes ahead and uses Veiler in response. Not in response, as an effect to resolve with Dasher. So he decides to go ahead and use the effect to draw 2. Negate it, use Meltdown, and from here he just has to go ahead and use everything as to his best ability, but as soon as it gets on field, I'm closing it up by setting it face down. So he decides to go ahead and attack everybody before continuing. Goes into Raijin, pops the set, which was Alistair. I draw into this line and working. I draw into pretty much nothing, and I go ahead and just lose that game. Heading to game 3, pretty confident here. Alistair, Super Poly, and Ariel. So I had to hold off on sending the Schism just in case he is able to draw something in that, like a lightning storm. So here he goes ahead and tries to use the effect. Uses the effect of DP, but after confirming with the judge, he can't do it, so I was able to go ahead and chain Super Poly to it because it's not protected since Vertic copies the effect. From here it's just slowly going ahead and poking for damage to try and pass the game. So as I make a window, it's perfectly fine. So even if he does anything, I still have the Schism to bring back. Goes ahead and attacks over window. I attack, get the Schism back. Just set one pass. Goes ahead and just continues to deduct life points. Gets to make a window. He tries to go ahead and make invocation. I stop it with droplets. Use Flavor. I'm at 100 life here at this point. So he's trying to think as best to his ability, but keep in mind this is a tournament, so I'm pretty confident in what I can do at this point. So he is at the point where he has to make window. I do have the Ecclesia in hand, so I go ahead and special summon that. Use the effect. get the fleur-de-lis, and my turn. Evenly is dead in his hand. Use the invocation effect. Tries to go ahead and use the Alistair effect. I immediately just go ahead and go ahead and just chain the droplets to go ahead and pitch, getting rid of his monster, but I'm also summoning out the fleur-de-lis still. So I decided to chain in Schism with Meltdown up. He can't trigger his monster because I turn priority. He tries to go ahead and use his last card in his extra deck, which is my buff for the Deer Servant. I immediately ash it, and he has to return the card. And from here, it's pretty easy. Just get rid of all the monsters he has board and just go for game. So at this point we drew, and that was the end of day one. Ended up X1-1 for the day, and then from the rest of the games on, I was not able to win. Afterwards, I did win the first one because my opponent didn't show up. After that, I didn't win, and all of my matches that I've won that I've lost were against the PKs, and same thing with the draw. So that's unfortunate for me because I was really thinking about that matchup. That I thought it was going to come up, but when I wanted to switch certain cards from my side deck, I was not able to anymore. So let's go ahead and get into the profile. So here's the deck profile. I'm going to go through this very quickly. 3 Alistair, 3 Ash, 1 Ecclesia, 1 Fleur-de-Lis, 1 Ariel, 2 Nibiru, 2 Wendy, 1 Beast, Dragon, Hog, Call by Grave, a Designator, Foolish, Harpies, 2 Invocation, 3 Meltdown, 3 Nadir, 3 Shaddoll Fusion, 2 Zero Poly, 2 Tactics, 1 Punishment, 3 Impermanence, and 1 Schism. It's the same list as I uploaded the last time, except I have 41 now with Punishment. Then, of course, there's in the side deck 3 Lancia, Pankratops, 3 Drone Lock, 2 Cosmic, 1 Dark Ruler, 2 Droplets, 2 Lightning Storm, and Red Reboot. I really wanted to fit in at least 2 evenly matched, so I was really considering taking out the Pankratops and Red Reboot at the very minimum to go ahead and put in the 2 evenly matched at the very least. Fortunately, I was not able to in time to switch it. And of course, my extract being the 2 Apgalone, 2 Construct, 2 Winda, Entis for anything like Punishment, or 2 Apgalone, 2 Construct, 2 Winda, 1 Entis, 1 Aguides, or Aguides, however you want to pronounce it, 1 Mechaba, 1 Purgatrio, 1 Raijin. My Super Poly target of choice is Mud Dragon of the Swamp because it can get rid of certain cards in different matchups. Like, say for example, I can get rid of the Baroness in Sword Soul. I can go ahead and use it for getting rid of the DPE, Destiny Hero, Destiny Phoenix Enforcer. And this also against PK is very useful because you can prevent them from targeting certain cards that you want to resolve. All because you can go ahead and just declare the attribute. Let's say, for example, you want to declare Dark. They can't target the Windas or the Alistairs with the Fog Blades because of that. 1 Artemis, 1 Gravity Controller, and 1 Verte Anaconda to round up the links and the extra deck. Only change I would make is I would like I said, I will probably switch out the pink and maybe the red reboot for 2 evenly match. That could be debated also with the lightning storms, but that's just my opinion. I probably would go ahead and switch those for that. But on that note, I do want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel a lot. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya.